guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Profusion eyeshadow palettes. So palettes I'm going to be talking about today are the 21 shade eyeshadow palettes and dual ended brush collection, and then the 10 shade multi-palettes. So I have two of these and then one of these. The 10 shade ones come in the Royals. They also have mattes, the classics, and the shimmers. So the classics are neutrals, mattes are kind of mostly neutrals too. The Royals is the fun pops of colors, and then the shimmers is the fun colors with all shimmers. I am kind of interested in trying more of these because I only have one of them. And then they have the 21 shade collection, which only has three. They have the Siennas, they have the Pro Pigment, and then they have the chocolate, which is like a grungier, which I'm really attracted to those too. These ones retail for $10. That's it. This is $5. That's it. The price point is amazing. I am very impressed. They also have other palettes too. The beauty brand superstars like big box here. Kit, which is like they got eyeshadows and bronzers, blushes, and highlights. I'm not going to talk about this today. I can talk about this in a different video because I want to just focus on just their eyeshadow palettes. These shadows are okay. They're very powdery. The shimmers are really pretty if you wet them, but they're not my favorite, so I'm not going to talk about that one today because I want to just focus on their eyeshadow palettes. They also have another palette that is the 24 shades. I don't know what's the difference between, I mean, they have like these 21 shades, and then they have other palettes that I'll pop a picture up on the screen that are the 24, which is the sultry, the naturals, and then they have an eye and cheek palette, and then they have like their little cases. They have a bunch, but the ones that kind of really came out this summer was this collection, and they did send me these, so I just want to let you guys know that they did send me these. They didn't send them like personally, like they sent out a big PR box to a lot of people, so I got these in PR. But they didn't tell me that I have to do a review on them. They didn't tell me I have to talk positively. They just sent them, which is very generous of them. And I have been using them. So what I want to kind of run down is some swatches of these, and then also just some kind of pros and cons and what I think. I'm going to start off with this Royals palette. So I, first off, want to say this palette I like better than this. I did do a full get ready with me with Profusion products. If you would like to see that, I will link that down below. This packaging is probably going to blind you a little bit because it's so like reflective, and I'm sorry it's hitting my lights, but I'll try and hold it like this. So this palette, these shimmers are amazing. They are metallic-y, they are just intense. They are beautiful. I used a lot of these this year when I'm dressing up in student section for football games. They are amazing. You can see how reflectant they are. The mattes in this palette are pretty as well. Profusion's matte formula is not my 100% favorite, but I do think that they have a pretty decent quality of mattes. So in this palette, I think that the shimmers are amazing, especially if you wet them. They're awesome. They show up a lot of pigment. They are kind of powdery though. That's the only problem. If I were to just stick my brush into this, it's building up a lot of powder, if you can tell. I was really looking forward to having the camper on the driveway when I could back up. Bye. So yeah, and then the shimmers are kind of like powdery too, but they are so pretty when you apply them. They just, like, I don't know, they just create, that's even with like a brush right, I don't know. They just apply really nicely from this palette. The only shade that I'm kind of iffy on is It's Magic. It's like a duochrome. I don't really love that one, but overall, like pretty much 9 out of the 10 shades I love. One thing I noticed with Profusion's mattes is when you do blend them, sometimes they can be a little tricky. The darker the shade, they can be a little bit trickier. But honestly, when I used this blue on my eye, I thought it turned out beautiful. I thought it performed nicely. I was able to work with it, and these are not like the worst eyeshadows I've ever used. They are actually pretty decent. $5, I think this is good. I think this is worth it. I think what you're paying for, you're getting more than what you're paying for, honestly. There are so many palettes out there that I don't even like that are even more expensive, and so I think their price point is amazing. I think that the quality is decent, I mean, it's good. Is it Jack on Hill quality eyeshadow palette? No, I think Jack on Hill quality is like the best, just her original palette, but this is great. And honestly, I'm an eyeshadow snob, so to be saying that, I mean, it's pretty good. So I don't reach for it as often just because they are pops of colors that I'm like not necessarily always going to use, but these warm palettes are beautiful. I was actually watching Andrea Lee's video, and she was talking about how like you can like put in a square here, like these 4 and then these 4, and that just is like a cool tone. Then you got the warm tone, and I mean, it's just, you can combine so many different things with this, and I want to play with this more. I haven't played with it a lot on my channel, but I do want to play with it more because I do think that these shadows are great. So now moving on to these palettes. So this is the Siennas palette, which is like really warm tone. You got your oranges, you got your yellows, your kind of maroons, like purplies, and then you have your Pro Pigment. The Pro Pigment is definitely all like purples and pinks. Now right off the bat, they do both come with a dual-ended brush, which is really nice. I do like the brush a lot, actually, if you guys can see. So, okay, overall, the Siennas I like way better than the Pro Pigment. I think, I'm just going to trash talk the Pro Pigment for a minute just to show you. Do you see how dusty and powdery it is all over my palette? That's like from these white shades. These white shades are awful. They are so powdery. I mean, like, what the heck? Not good. Do not like them. Half of these shimmers in here, like this one, is like nothing when you put it on your lid. I mean, some of these are just nothing. Now, some of them are creamy. Like this Dizzy shade is creamy. This Crackle shade, which I love, it's like a cool tone purple. That one's pretty. See how pretty that one is? Some of these are pretty. And then you get to a couple shades in here that you're just like, what in the world? This like top row, not a fan at all. This pop color is good and Fling is decent. I mean, it's just a gray. The mattes are very pigmented. This shade called Jive and Disco, I'm not kidding you, they are so intense. Like, look at that. That one's not as intense, but look at how intense it is. That stains my eyelid. It is so intense. Like, it's staining my finger right now. So this stains my eyelid, which I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, because I think the Jaclyn formula will a little bit, or it'll be trickier to get off, but this legit stains. Like, it will not come off. These shimmer, or these mattes are very pigmented. Like, these 3 mattes, beautiful if I'm looking for a shade like that. But honestly, like, this whole top row is pretty much a dud. This shimmer shade does not work very well. This one's okay. These shimmer shades right here are nice. These are pretty good. This one is just glittery, but, whoa, I've never used this shade. Yeah, that shade just is not, no. So I would say like this row is good and a couple in this row is good. I would say half of this palette is decent. And for that, I know you're only paying $10, but still, I keep saying dollars, funny, dollars. Still, like, this whole top row is pretty much a dud. And this color combination, I'm just kind of confused. I don't really understand what's the reason for the pop of gold in there. I just want to know. The mattes in here, they do blend, but they do take a little bit of effort. I noticed that with all drugstore, though, they do take a little bit of effort. Now, these mattes are pigmented, like, holy crap, pigmented. I don't find myself reaching for it. It doesn't inspire me, really. There's a couple of nice shimmers along here, but honestly, like, I would rather reach for a palette that work nicely together instead of just a palette that has some shades, but I'll probably end up having to pull in from another palette. You know what I'm saying? So I could see how they were trying to add pops of color, but some of these, I'm just like, why? Like, why do we need 3 white shades? Do you see that? Like, 1, 2, 3. Like, what's the point? They all are awful anyway. I know one of them has, like, a shift to it, but even still, like, I, like, literally cannot even, if I wet my brush, I can't even get it to look right. It just looks powdery and just, I really do not see the point. So this palette, I would probably say to pass on. If you're going to get one of these palettes, I would definitely say go for the Siennas palette. Pro Pigment did not impress me as much as the Siennas did. Now, talking about the Siennas palette, this shade selection makes a lot more sense to me. It's a lot warm tones, and it's very pretty. I really like it. It has a nice creamy matte shade, which is intensely pigmented. It does have a nice variety of mattes. The shimmers are decent. This one is okay. Once I kind of really dug into it and like wet my brush and dipped into it, it pressed it together better. Solstice is a very pretty gold. Dizzy is okay. It's not really like a metallic-y shimmer, which I don't really ever get those shades, like understand what their kind of point is. Exclusive is okay. It's kind of like a little bit more of a reflectant. But when you get to like Bite, like this is beautiful. That shade is just out. Like, look at that. That's just creamy. I just don't understand how some of the shimmers are like creamy and intense. And then there's some of them that are just like, what? Like, I just don't get that. Like, keep it all the same formula of the Creamy Intense. Now when it comes to the mattes, I do notice that, like, if I use this, I really like this yellow shade. I think it's very pretty. It is intense. I mean, they do have very pretty, they are pigmented shadows. Now, when it comes to, like, blending them, I do think it is a little bit tricky. I know that when I did that look, I posted on Instagram that was like the yellow, the orange, and this purple. It was a little bit tricky. I did have to keep building it up. I noticed that if I put it on and then I put on another shade, it would kind of start to blend away a little bit. So I have to build it up a little bit. Now, that being said, you get 21 shadows for $10. I don't think that's a bad price at all. I would not say this is my favorite eyeshadow formula. It's not. But I do reach for this palette because of the variety of colors in it. And I think it gets the job done. If you are just an everyday person looking for a palette that has a lot of what you need and it's got some shimmers, it's got some mattes that work decently well, I think that this is for you. Now, if you're looking for intense pigment shadows that are just blending effortlessly and are just like the most amazing thing ever, go for the Jaclyn Hill original palette. That's pretty much kind of what this is almost. If you look at it, if you kind of cover up these 4 shades here, let's see if I can do this. Like, you're kind of getting the same vibe here, just a little bit. I think that the Profusion one's a little bit more warm tone, but you still kind of get the same vibe from it. So if you want to spend a little bit more, like $38, I believe, to get like 35 shades. I really do like this Siennas palette. I know that this one came out and a lot of people were skeptical. I don't really recommend this one unless you want that bright pink shade, but I don't know. I feel like maybe half of this palette is good, so that's why I would say just kind of skip it. And I would say honestly, there isn't really one shade in this palette that I think is a complete dud. So with that being said, like, swatching, they are intense. I literally like barely brush my finger over and you're getting intense pigment. These shadows I don't think stain as much as those ones. I always get skeptical when it comes to drugstore palettes just because they are, you know, you don't know how to judge them because a lot of brands from the drugstore hit it out of the ballpark. Like, they are amazing. And these ones, I wouldn't say are that amazing, but I would say that they are really good quality, especially for the price. They do give you a how-to instruction if you need an inspiration look on the back. I just think that this is a well-done product, and I really like this. So definitely go for the Siennas. I would not recommend the Pro Pigments. Now I'm kind of showing you, I honestly think I do like the Royals formula better than this. I think I said I like the mattes better in one than the other in the other video, but I think I would have to say I like the Royals better. It obviously is smaller. This thing is like the size of my face. It's huge. If you're looking for just a smaller palette, if you want all shimmers, if you want all mattes, if you want a classic, if you want some pops of colors, go for these ones. But if you're needing like a whole collection of just warm tones or even the grungy chocolates, which I haven't tried, but I'm really tempted to, these ones are nice. So I do want to pick up more of these because they're only $5 and I'm really eyeing up that Classics palette. And this is just even easy for me because when I travel, it's thin, it's easy, it's small, it has everything. Not necessarily this one, but the other ones. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you kind of found it helpful. Let me know if you've tried Profusion products down in the comments. I would love to hear kind of your opinions on it. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And yeah, I'd love to have you guys stick around and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!